I think the royal family has to modernise and develop as it goes along, and it has to stay relevant. And that's the challenge for me, is how do I make...
King Charles has made a decision that shocked the royal family to its core. As health issues and family pressures become too much to bear, he has finally chosen to step down, naming William and Catherine as next to take the crown. Suddenly, history was changing right in front of everyone. Was this planned, or did something happen behind the palace walls? Let's find out. The succession plan for the British monarchy. The succession to the British throne is regulated not only through descent, but also by parliamentary statute. This dual system of heredity and law makes the British succession unique among world monarchies. The basis for succession was determined in constitutional developments of the 17th century, which culminated in the Bill of Rights in 1689 and the Act of Settlement in 1701. These foundational documents established that Parliament could regulate who inherits the crown. The historical context for parliamentary control over succession arose from political and religious conflicts. When James II fled the country in 1681, Parliament held that he had abdicated the government and the throne was vacant. Rather than automatically passing to his young son, the crown was offered to his daughter Mary and her husband William of Orange. This precedent established that succession could be altered through legislative action when circumstances required it. In the past, preference was given to male heirs, meaning that an elder daughter would be displaced by a younger brother. This system of male primogeniture shaped succession for centuries. Younger sons inherited the throne before older daughters in numerous historical cases. The practice reflected cultural attitudes about gender and power that persisted well into modern times, despite growing recognition of its unfairness. The practice of male primogeniture ended in 2015 following enactment of the Succession to the Crown Act. Males born after October 28, 2011 no longer precede females in line, and the ban on marriages to Catholics was lifted. These changes required agreement from all Commonwealth realms where the British monarch serves as head of state. Coordinating legislation across multiple sovereign nations presented significant diplomatic and constitutional challenges. The changes came into effect across the Commonwealth realms on March 26, 2015, after legislation was made according to each realm's constitution. Princess Charlotte of Cambridge became the first royal to benefit from the new succession rules. Her younger brother Louis could not displace her in the line of succession despite being male. This represented a historic shift toward gender equality within the monarchy's foundational structures. The British monarch must be head of the Protestant Church of England, so only Protestants can be in the line of succession. Meanwhile, Catholics themselves were retained from succession to ensure the monarch would be in communion with the Church of England. This religious requirement dates back to the Act of Settlement and reflects England's complex religious history, following the Reformation and subsequent conflicts. As of April 2026, Prince William stands first in line to the throne at age 43. Prince George follows as second in line at age 12, then Princess Charlotte at age 10, and Prince Louis at age 7. William's 3 children secured the direct line of succession for another generation. This provides stability and continuity for the monarchy's future, beyond William's eventual reign. Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, is 5th in line despite stepping back from royal duties, while his children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, are 6th and 7th in line, respectively. Their place in succession remains unchanged regardless of their parents' decision to live in the United States, because physical residence does not affect succession rights under current law, though it complicates practical matters. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, King Charles's brother, is 8th in the line of succession, despite being stripped of his royal titles. Removing someone from the line of succession requires an act of parliament, which would need approval from Commonwealth member states. This complex process explains why Andrew retains his succession rights. Despite losing his titles and patronages following the well-known Epstein scandal, in February 2026, the government stated it was not ruling out action regarding Andrew's place in the line of succession. The Australian constitutional scholar Anne Twomey warned that removing Andrew from succession would likely be a time-consuming process involving many parliaments passing legislation. Such action would require careful coordination across multiple sovereign nations with their own constitutional processes and political considerations. If a sovereign succeeds to the throne before reaching age 18, the first person over age 21 and domiciled in the United Kingdom becomes regent. The regent would exercise most royal functions until the young monarch reached maturity. This condition ensures continuity of government even if tragedy strikes and a child inherits the crown. Historical precedents exist for regencies during minority or incapacity of monarchs. Changes to the line of succession impact those eligible to serve as counselors of state under the Regency Act 1937. Counselors perform the monarch's legal functions when the sovereign is temporarily out of the country or incapacitated. These roles ensure that government business continues smoothly during royal absences. The system provides constitutional flexibility while maintaining clear lines of authority and legitimacy. The succession system balances hereditary principle with parliamentary sovereignty and religious requirements. It provides stability through clear rules while allowing flexibility through legislative change when necessary. The monarchy's legitimacy rests partly on this combination of ancient tradition and democratic accountability. Future changes to succession rules remain possible as social values and political circumstances continue evolving over time. And recently, King is reportedly said to make another change. That the unexpected announcement. Just like any other morning at Buckingham Palace, staff members went about their duties while the world outside remained unaware of what was coming. Inside the palace walls, King Charles had made a decision that would change the monarchy forever. He had been thinking about this moment for many months. The burden of leadership during his health battle had become too heavy to carry alone. King Charles had been diagnosed with cancer in early 2024, shortly after treatment for an enlarged prostate. For nearly 2 years, he continued his royal duties while undergoing treatment. In December 2025, he announced his treatment schedule would be reduced in 2026, thanks to early diagnosis and effective intervention. The news brought relief to many who had worried about his health. However, recent events had taken their toll on the monarch. The pressures on King Charles, who was still suffering from cancer, were described as intense by royal experts. Family troubles added to his stress, especially the controversy surrounding his brother Andrew, which has become publicized around the world. Every day seemed to bring new challenges that required his attention and energy. Charles had waited his entire life to become king. He ascended the throne in September 2022 after the passing of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. His coronation took place in May 2023 at Westminster Abbey. It was a moment of great celebration and hope for the future. Now, less than 3 years later, he faced an impossible choice: the decision to step down from kingship. Palace officials noticed changes in the king early this year. He appeared more tired at public events even when schedule had been reduced to accommodate his health needs. Meanwhile, Prince William and Princess Catherine were reportedly extremely concerned about the way recent crises were affecting the king's health. The royal family held private meetings to discuss the situation, and everyone understood the gravity of what lay ahead. On a particular Tuesday morning, King Charles called a private meeting at Windsor Castle. Only the most senior members of the royal family were invited. Prince William and Catherine arrived first, followed by Queen Camilla and Princess Anne. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation. Nobody knew exactly what Charles wanted to discuss, but they sensed its importance. This was not going to be an ordinary family gathering. Charles began speaking in a careful manner to the small group assembled before him. He thanked them for coming on such short notice. He also acknowledged the difficult months they had all endured together as a family. Then came the words that would echo through their lives forever. He announced his decision to step down from leadership. Suddenly, the room fell into silence. Nobody had expected this despite knowing about Charles's health struggles and recent family pressures. Charles explained his reasoning with honesty and grace to his family. He spoke about his ongoing health challenges and the demands of modern monarchy. He emphasized that the decision was made with careful thought and extensive consultation. This was not a moment of weakness, but one of profound responsibility. He wanted to ensure the monarchy remained strong and effective for future generations. The emotional impact on those present was overwhelming. William felt his stomach drop as he processed what his father had just said. His wife Catherine sat quietly processing what this meant for their entire family. Princess Anne asked practical questions about timing and constitutional procedures, while Queen Camilla focused on supporting her husband through this difficult announcement to his loved ones. King Charles continued explaining his plans with determination in his voice. He formally named Prince William and Catherine as the next king and queen. The announcement was direct and clear to those gathered. There would be no confusion about the line of succession among family members. William would become King William V, and Catherine would be crowned Queen Catherine. The transition would happen swiftly and smoothly. The king praised his son and daughter-in-law extensively during this private family meeting. He spoke of William's dedication to public service and environmental causes, while also highlighting Catherine's work with early childhood development and mental health awareness. He expressed complete confidence in their ability to lead the nation forward together. To him, they represented the future of the monarchy in every meaningful way. William's first reaction was concern for his father's well-being, rather than the throne itself. He asked repeatedly if Charles was certain about this monumental decision. But the king reassured his son that months of careful consideration had gone into the choice. Medical advice, constitutional experts, and private consultations all pointed toward the same conclusion. This was the right path forward for everyone involved, including the institution itself. The family spent the next several hours discussing practical matters and emotional concerns. They talked about how to tell the children, especially young George, who would suddenly become direct heir. They discussed the timeline for public announcement and the constitutional steps required. They all comforted and embraced each other, understanding that nothing would ever be quite the same again. As the meeting concluded, Charles asked for their absolute discretion until the proper announcements could be made. The news would shake the nation and the world when it became public. For now, it remained a closely guarded family secret. Within days, constitutional officers and government ministers would be informed. Parliament would need to act quickly on the necessary legislation. That evening, William and Catherine returned to their home with heavy hearts and racing minds. They held each other close, processing the reality of what was coming. Their lives were about to change in ways they had long anticipated, but never quite this soon. The weight of the crown would soon rest on William's head. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. A reflection on the king's reign. King Charles sat alone in his private study at Clarence House after the announcement. The room held decades of memories and personal treasures. Photographs lined the walls, showing moments from his long life of service. He had been Prince of Wales for longer than anyone in British history. That journey had shaped everything about who he became as king. His mother, Queen Elizabeth II, reigned for 70 years before her passing in September 2022. Charles was 73 years old when he finally became king. The long wait had given him time to develop strong opinions about the monarchy's role. He cared deeply about environmental issues, architecture, and organic farming. These passions defined much of his public work over the decades. The coronation in May 2023 had been a magnificent ceremony at Westminster Abbey. Charles wanted it to reflect both tradition and his vision for a modern monarchy. The service included representatives from different faiths and communities across Britain. Music filled the ancient abbey as he was crowned with St. Edward's crown. Queen Camilla was crowned beside him in a smaller but equally meaningful ceremony. During his time as king, Charles championed causes close to his heart with renewed vigor. He spoke frequently about climate change and the urgent need for action. His Earthshot Prize continued to award innovators working on environmental solutions. He pushed for sustainable agriculture and green energy across the Commonwealth. These efforts became central to his legacy as monarch. Charles also worked to modernize the royal family's public image and operations. He reduced the number of working royals to create a slimmer, more efficient institution. He opened royal residences more widely to the public than ever before. Even financial transparency improved under his leadership. The goal was making the monarchy more accessible and accountable to ordinary citizens. His cancer diagnosis came during treatment for an enlarged prostate, and he subsequently began a schedule of regular treatments. However, FHE King chose to be open about his health struggles. He used his platform to encourage others to seek early cancer screening and spoke about how early diagnosis quite simply saves lives and made a difference in his own case. The personal testimony resonated with millions facing similar battles. Unfortunately, Relations within the royal family presented ongoing challenges during his reign. The rift with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continued to dominate headlines. Their allegations of racism and lack of support had damaged the family's reputation. Charles, on his own, tried to balance his roles as father and king. The situation required diplomatic handling and caused him personal pain. In addition, the controversy over Prince Andrew and his connection to Jeffrey Epstein created intense pressure. Charles made the difficult decision to strip his brother of royal titles and honors. Andrew would no longer use his Duke of York title. These actions demonstrated Charles's willingness to prioritize the monarchy's integrity over family loyalty. Although the decisions were heartbreaking, they were necessary. Throughout his reign, Charles maintained strong relationships with Commonwealth nations. He traveled extensively despite his health concerns. State visits reinforced historical ties and built new partnerships. A planned state visit to the United States in April 2026 would include an address to Congress. These diplomatic efforts strengthened Britain's global standing during uncertain times. The king's relationship with the British public evolved significantly during his time on the throne. Early skepticism about whether he could follow his beloved mother gradually softened as people began to appreciate his authenticity and genuine commitment to service. His willingness to discuss his cancer diagnosis openly created unexpected connection. Vulnerability proved to be one of his greatest strengths as monarch. Charles thought often about the promises he made during his coronation ceremony. He had sworn to govern according to law and with mercy. He pledged to uphold the Church of England and protect religious freedom. These oaths weighed heavily on his conscience as he considered stepping down. He questioned whether his decision meant breaking those sacred promises to God and country. But then he realized that sometimes the greatest service came through knowing when to pass the torch. Looking back on specific achievements brought King Charles both pride and humility. His charitable trust had raised billions for good causes over the decades. Programs supporting disadvantaged youth had changed countless lives for the better, and his advocacy for traditional architecture preserved beautiful buildings that might otherwise have been demolished. These contributions would outlast his time on the throne. The king recognized that his reign would always be measured against his mother's extraordinary tenure. Elizabeth II set standards that seemed impossible to match, but Charles chose instead to forge his own path with different priorities and approaches. He hoped history would judge him fairly for the unique circumstances he faced. His reign was shorter, but no less meaningful. As he thought about how far he had come in the monarchy, Charles felt surprising relief mixed with sadness. The burden he had carried for nearly 4 years would soon pass to William. He trusted his son completely to lead with wisdom and compassion. The monarchy would continue and adapt as it always had through centuries of change. The quiet transition. The change in William's role did not come with a big announcement or any special event. It happened slowly over time. More duties kept adding up, and his presence kept growing in areas that once belonged only to his father. People who watch royal activities closely began to notice this pattern around the middle of 2025. His schedule became much heavier, showing a clear shift in how he was being used. He started attending events that were very important and large in scale. These were not just small duties to support an unwell king, it looked more serious than that. The way he was being placed showed careful planning from the palace. It was clear that this was not random. The institution had made a decision and was now moving forward with it step by step, giving William more visible and meaningful responsibilities. One major moment that showed this change clearly was his trip to Brazil in November 2025. He went there to represent the United Kingdom at COP30, a global climate summit. This was a very important event with strong political weight. His father, who had supported environmental causes for many years, did not attend. Instead, William took his place and handled the role with confidence and strong presence. During that visit, William did more than just appear at the event. He spoke, engaged, and acted like the main royal voice on a global issue. It did not feel like he was just filling in for someone else. People around the world saw him as the one leading on that topic. His actions showed that he was ready to take on such a role fully, and the response he received confirmed that others were also ready to accept him in that position. While these public changes were easy to see, there were also important shifts happening behind the scenes in Britain. William began to receive briefings and join discussions that were once limited to his father's office. Officially, this was explained as part of planning for the future. It was meant to make sure he would be prepared. He was being included in real decisions and real planning. This helped him gain authority step by step, making the transition smoother and more natural as time went on. A key moment that tested William's leadership came during the situation involving Andrew. The pressure on the palace had grown very strong, and action could not be delayed. William did not stay silent during this time. He made his views known within the palace and supported a clear and firm response. He believed that the issue needed to be handled quickly and directly to protect the image of the monarchy. His actions during this difficult moment showed that he was ready to take tough decisions, even when they involved family matters. This was not easy, but it was necessary. People inside the palace saw that he could act with strength when required. This helped build trust in his ability to lead, especially during times of crisis that could affect public opinion for many years. At the same time, his relationship with the palace system had changed in an important way. He was no longer someone who needed guidance at every step. Instead, he became the person giving direction. Senior advisors began to treat him as the main decision-maker in many areas. They discussed important topics with him, including the future direction of the monarchy and how it should present itself to the public. These kinds of discussions would not have happened in the same way just a few years earlier. The change showed that the institution had made a clear choice about its future. It was now acting on that choice in a careful and steady way. William was placed at the center of planning and strategy, showing that the shift was already happening in practice, even without any formal announcement. Catherine's return to royal duties during this time added more strength to William's growing role. Her presence beside him created a sense of balance and stability. Together, they appeared as a strong team, not just individuals. She approached her return with focus and purpose, choosing carefully where to put her energy. Her work in early childhood development gave her role deeper meaning beyond public appearances. The relationship between William and Camilla also showed signs of change during this period. Camilla was not fully excluded, but the difference was noticeable. Those who paid attention could see that the main focus was moving toward William's side. This shift in attention and involvement reflected a deeper change inside the institution. The balance of influence was slowly adjusting, with William's household becoming more central in shaping decisions and direction. Even though no official change had been announced, the situation inside the palace was already clear. Charles was still respected, and his views were still valued. However, the main direction of the monarchy, including how it handled issues and planned ahead, was now being shaped mostly by William. This meant that, in practice, the transition had already begun. The only thing left was the official moment when this reality would be fully recognized. But a modernized monarchy. In view, William had spent his entire adult life preparing for the role of king. Unlike his father, who waited decades, William would ascend the throne earlier. He possessed clear ideas about how the monarchy needed to evolve. The institution had to remain relevant in a rapidly changing world. Traditional elements would be preserved, but outdated practices had to go. Balance between heritage and progress would define his reign. William had publicly stated that change was on his agenda, saying he embraced and enjoyed change rather than fearing. He believed the monarchy could be a force for genuine good in society. The key was focusing royal resources and attention on issues that truly mattered to ordinary people. Ceremony and pageantry had their place, but substance mattered more. His reign would prioritize impact over spectacle whenever possible. The Homewards program represented William's ambitious 5-year plan to help end homelessness in 6 locations across the United Kingdom. His mother, Diana, had taken him to homeless shelters when he was just a child. Those early experiences shaped his understanding of poverty and social exclusion. The program would provide seed funding to support pioneering homeless initiatives that could be replicated nationally and internationally. This was not symbolic charity work, but serious policy intervention. William planned to expand Homewards significantly once he became king. The program would receive greater funding and institutional support. More cities and regions would be included in the initiative. The goal was making homelessness rare, brief, and unrepeated through collaborative local solutions. William believed that no person in a modern society should lack safe and secure housing, and his platform as king would amplify this message powerfully. Environmental protection stood at the absolute center of William's vision for his reign. The Earthshot Prize would become even more prominent under his kingship. The annual awards recognized innovative solutions to climate and environmental challenges. Winners received funding and support to scale their projects globally. William saw this as the monarchy's most important contribution to humanity's future survival and prosperity. He intended to make royal residences models of environmental sustainability and efficiency. Solar panels, renewable energy systems, and water conservation would be implemented wherever feasible. The royal estates would demonstrate that heritage buildings could be modernized responsibly. Carbon neutrality would be achieved across all royal operations within his first decade as king. Leading by example mattered more than grand speeches about climate action. William spoke openly about making the monarchy more accountable through measures like auditing the Duchy of Cornwall finances. Financial transparency would increase drastically under his leadership as detailed reports about royal spending would be published regularly. The public deserved to know how their money supported the monarchy. Accountability built trust, and trust sustained the institution's legitimacy in democratic society. The number of working royals would continue decreasing under William's slimmed-down model. Only those directly in the line of succession and their spouses would receive public funding. Extended family members could maintain titles, but would be expected to work independently. This approach ensures reduced costs while maintaining the dignity and effectiveness of core royal functions, because efficiency and relevance mattered more than maintaining a large royal household. William believed strongly that traditions needed regular examination to determine if they remained fit for purpose. Some ceremonies and protocols dated back centuries and still held deep meaning. Others had become empty rituals disconnected from contemporary life. He would work with advisors to identify which traditions deserved preservation and which could be modernized or retired. While bringing change, he wants to be thoughtful rather than reckless or disrespectful. Mental health advocacy would remain central to William's work as king. He had championed this cause for years, alongside Catherine and his brother Harry. The stigma surrounding mental illness had decreased significantly, but much work remained. Royal patronage of mental health organizations would continue with increased visibility and resources. William wanted every person struggling with mental health challenges to feel supported rather than ashamed. Catherine's role as queen would be genuinely equal to his own within their partnership. She would not be relegated to ceremonial functions while he handled substantive matters. Her expertise in early childhood development would shape national policy and public awareness. Her middle-class upbringing meant she understood life beyond palace walls in ways that enriched their shared vision. Together, they would present a united front on the issues they cared about most. William planned to engage more directly with government on policy matters where appropriate. The constitutional monarchy had established boundaries, but also permitted private counsel and influence. He would meet regularly with ministers from all parties to discuss homelessness, environmental policy, and social welfare. His role as constitutional monarch required political neutrality, but allowed for private advocacy on behalf of vulnerable populations. The Commonwealth relationship required careful attention and possible restructuring under William's reign. He recognized that many member nations questioned the value of these historical ties. Younger generations in Australia, Canada, and the Caribbean saw little relevance in distant monarchy. To resolve this, William would work to transform the Commonwealth into a partnership rather than a vestige of empire. Mutual benefit and shared values had to replace outdated hierarchies. Technology would be embraced more fully under William's leadership of the monarchy. Social media would be used strategically to share royal work without creating celebrity culture. Virtual engagements would supplement traditional in-person visits when appropriate. Digital archives would make royal history and documents accessible to researchers and the public. The monarchy had to meet people where they lived and communicated in the modern world. His relationship with the media would be professional but limited under clear guidelines. Legitimate public interest in royal activities would be accommodated through official channels, while intrusive coverage of private family moments would be challenged legally when necessary. William had learned from his mother's tragic demise that boundaries between public and private life were essential for safety and well-being. The vision William is bringing to the throne is both radical and very conservative. He would modernize the institution while preserving its essential character and historical continuity. The monarchy would serve the people rather than existing for its own sake. Relevance, accountability, and genuine impact would measure success. This is the legacy he intends to build as King William V.